It is now confirmed. Under the leadership of Donald Trump, the United States has carried out a direct strike on Iran's nuclear infrastructure, completely destroying 3 key facilities in a single night. The world woke up to the shockwaves of one of the most significant escalations in the Middle East in recent years, and the United Kingdom's response came swiftly. Despite the British government having publicly ruled out any direct U.S. involvement just days ago, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has now voiced his full support for Trump's aerial offensive. This statement marks a sudden and profound shift in the UK's position regarding the growing crisis with Tehran. In the early hours of the morning, Downing Street issued an official statement clearly outlining the government's stance. It declared that Iran's nuclear program poses a serious threat to global security and that under no circumstances should the regime be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. The statement explained that the United States acted to mitigate this threat while also highlighting the continued volatility in the region. It concluded with a call for Iran to return to diplomatic negotiations in order to find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Although the message was delivered in measured terms, it left no doubt that Starmer's administration stands behind the American military action, even as it continues to advocate for diplomacy to avoid a wider conflict. The contrast with the government's position just 5 days ago is striking. At that time, the Prime Minister himself expressed certainty that the U.S. would not engage in direct hostilities. And yet, the current reality is undeniable. American fighter jets have struck deep inside Iranian territory, and the UK has aligned itself fully with the operation. True to form, Donald Trump confirmed the mission shortly after midnight UK time. He stated that U.S. forces had destroyed 3 critical nuclear sites within Iran and emphasized that this was not only a message to Tehran but a signal to the world. In his words, "We want peace, but if Iran's thugs keep provoking us, there will be devastating consequences." A bold statement that reinforces his stance of strength while still leaving room for diplomatic engagement. Nonetheless, the scale of the strike leaves little doubt. This was a major escalation. Israel's response was immediate and celebratory. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised Trump's decision, calling it courageous and declaring it a historic turning point. According to Netanyahu, history will remember that President Trump acted to prevent the world's most dangerous regime from acquiring the world's most dangerous weapons. For Tel Aviv, this was more than a military move, it was a strategic milestone. Iran, however, has not remained silent. The country's response has been forceful. The Iranian foreign minister condemned the strikes as outrageous and criminal, issuing a stern warning about what he described as eternal consequences. His full statement denounced the attack as highly illegal and dangerous, urging all UN member states to take note of what he called destabilizing behavior. These are not merely expressions of anger. They serve as a clear indication that Iran is preparing to retaliate, potentially deepening and widening the conflict even further. In this context, the UK now faces a precarious balancing act. Keir Starmer finds himself in a complicated position, having gone from dismissing the possibility of escalation to fully endorsing a US airstrike that could draw the entire West into a large-scale regional confrontation. This abrupt shift in position has already raised questions about the government's judgment and its ability to accurately interpret the evolving international landscape. As Tehran openly threatens long-term retaliation, the risk of a broader war involving Israel, the United States, and potentially NATO allies has never felt more imminent. What happens next remains uncertain. Will Iran respond militarily? Will more Western countries side with Washington? And can diplomacy survive such a decisive and destructive blow? What is clear is that this story is far from over. The world is watching, holding its breath, as events unfold that may well shape the course of modern history. In other news, the efficiency unit of the Reform UK Party, led by Nigel Farage, has revealed the distribution of a satisfaction survey in hotels housing asylum seekers, aimed at gathering feedback on various aspects of their welfare. Zia Youssef, head of Reform's Waste Reduction Division, publicly raised concerns about the questionnaire, which has been circulated in accommodation facilities for migrants. Posting on X, formerly Twitter, he warned that the findings would spark outrage among taxpayers. The Health and Social Care team in Wakefield District, which provides support to asylum seekers in these hotels, asked newly arrived migrants to share what mattered most to them upon arrival. The responses highlighted a range of concerns, including access to Wi-Fi, requests for music, and interest in English classes, all framed as part of an effort to tailor health and well-being services to their needs. Among the stated priorities of the illegal migrants were basic necessities such as clothing and other paid items, hospital care, mobile phones, internet access, and language assistance. Some of the responses stood out. One individual stated they preferred silence due to hearing problems and disliked loud music. Another said all their belongings were damaged after arriving by boat. Elsewhere in the forms, one asylum seeker expressed a desire to learn English but noted that no one had explained how to go about it. Another cited the emotional toll of navigating the asylum process and dealing with government authorities. ISEF described these revelations as deeply unjust, saying they bordered on immoral. He argued that hard-working taxpayers across the country are rightly outraged by a bureaucratic class that, in his view, shows more concern for illegal migrants than for the people who fund the system. He went on to criticize the survey itself, which asks individuals staying free of charge in hotels about their interests and preferred activities. According to ISEF, this represents a misuse of public resources, noting that these individuals are not paying customers but are, in many cases, residing in the UK unlawfully. This controversy follows another recent disclosure from Reform UK that taxpayers in Kent have been covering the cost of TV licenses and cinema outings for illegal migrants, fueling further public frustration. The situation has been further inflamed by the testimony of a British Army veteran who told the press he felt degraded by Bracknell Forest Council after losing access to emergency accommodation, while Afghan refugees were being housed in luxury hotels in the same area. George Ford, who was shot during a mission in Afghanistan and later diagnosed with severe PTSD, was evicted from the home he shared with his long-term partner. The local council failed to provide him with alternative housing, while approximately 300 Afghan refugees were placed in a 4-star hotel as part of a government resettlement program. The uproar over the Wakefield District Survey adds fuel to the broader national debate over how asylum seekers are treated and how public funds are being spent on their support. Critics, including Farage's Reform UK party, argue that offering tailored well-being services to migrants, many of whom, they claim, are in the country illegally, reflects a set of government priorities that are entirely out of step with the needs of the British public. Amid growing public frustration over the perceived imbalance between the care offered to migrants and the struggles faced by vulnerable UK citizens, such as war veterans, political pressure on local councils and national lawmakers is likely to intensify. With mounting demands for fairness, transparency, and accountability in the use of taxpayer money, the government may soon be forced to reconsider how it balances compassion with fiscal responsibility. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more updates. See you in the next one.